Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, I'm Hilda Muftia. I'm a student of International Relations Studies in Universitas Muhammadiyah Jakarta, batch 2019. So here, I want to show you a presentation about Indonesia's strategy to increase world credibility through education diplomacy. It's basically about education in Indonesia that will be compared to other countries, and we can see how far Indonesia to their system of education, and is it doing well or not. So let's jump to the next one. So so the first one is abstract. Education become an important aspect in this life, since we know that education itself it can build people critical thinking and then their skill, and also expand their knowledge. But every country has different system, even though the purpose is the same. The system is different based in the application of the education, include Indonesia. So this research, we can see how education make an influence to the country. The aim of this research is to see how education makes the influence to the country, and to make us know the perspective by some students, especially Indonesian students, because me as a writer want to be more focused in Indonesian education, and I want to see how far Indonesia spend the education diplomacy. So the keywords here is cultural diplomacy, education system, and also an international program, and last one is Indonesia. So let's jump to the introduction. In introduction, I have some of definition of education. The first one in general, education basically is a continuous process of higher adjustment for all human beings who develop physically and mentally, which is free of God as manifested in their intellectual, emotional, and humanity as a human. Every developed country will never separate from education. Second one is the definition from the expert, which is John Stuart Mill, that defined the education as including all the things that do by people for each other to make them getting closer to the profession. And last one from Indonesian expert, which is Nurholis, which said that education is about process of knowledge transfer, value transformation, and the formation of personality in every aspect. And one of experts also make a quote that the high quality of education in some country is based on its human resources that can develop and advance their country. So it means that education in each country is based on the people in the country itself. Because if the people in that country is really good and then aware about education, the education will be more better than other. But if the people in the country is not aware, even didn't care about education, the education system in that country is really lack and have a lot of shortage. And the fact is Indonesia still has a lot of education problems that need to solve in every scale, from regional until international scale. So it means that most of Indonesian people still not aware education, about education and education system. And the things that uh, the things that become a main problems in Indonesian educations are the low equity of obtained educations, the weakness of education management, and the last one is low quality and relevance of Indonesian education. So, how to solve it? The best way to solve the lack of education is by education diplomacy. To reach these goals, education diplomacy can be a good strategy. In recent years, Indonesia actually already do this education diplomacy. It's proved by through Kemendikbud RI because they do some activities related to the foreign cooperation like student international exchange, lecture exchange, international research to or publication, and facilitate curriculum exchange or double degree. But despite of there are so many programs, there is still a lack of the apply of it. Furthermore, Indonesia is still developing country and still have some problems. So this country needs more way to move to make the system getting better. So I have some research question here. The first one is how education diplomacy can strengthen Indonesia position around the world. And the second one is it the strategy already effective to develop Indonesian through education? Well, we will discuss about it in this research or in this paper. So let's jump into the literature review. This literature review consists of two parts. There are theoretical framework, which consists of definition of purpose of diplomacy, and then the empirical review, which consists the education diplomacy application in Indonesia. Well, Sir Anasato defined diplomacy as intelligent application or tactics of running a relationship between government and independent states around the world. And then another point is by Burston, which defined the diplomacy as a country relation or relation between countries with other international actors. The aim of diplomacy itself is to promote the welfare of nations, to maintain the peace, harmonious relation with each other while guaranteeing security, peace, and the respect for them. There are two types of diplomacy, classic and modern. Classic is including negotiation, concession, and making conflict trade and more. And the modern diplomacy, including cooperation, accommodation, opposition. Since the main topic of this paper is about education, so it's including in cultural diplomacy. Cultural diplomacy shows that the effort of get the country national interest through cultural way. And currently, Indonesia has applied the education diplomacy, like by doing exchange, publication, international publication, and more. Based on the article that titled Diplomasi Soft Power Indonesia melalui Atas Pendidikan dan Kebudayaan, mentioned that by this kind of soft power diplomacy, Indonesia can be strengthen their credibility abroad. Education is actually the main dimension of cultural diplomacy. This is expected to internationalize each country education directly to catch up the gaps and the transform in Indonesian national to carry out research and education. So we jump to the research method. Me as a writer decide to use qualitative in this research because I think that by this method I can see more perspective and then analyze more about people thought about Indonesian education. Well, qualitative research is a research method used to examine the condition of natural object itself. This research seeks to dig up information according to the description of conditions, objects, or social phenomena when research is carried out. This definition is by Sukiono, 2005. So to gather the respondent, I have three criteria here. The first one it should be college student in middle years. And the second one, the student is have the interest in education and foreign study. And the last one, the student should have an experience or at least he or she have an interest in exchange program. So let's jump to the findings. In the findings, I have some perspective by my interview to Indonesian student about Indonesian education. Generally, most of interviewees said that Indonesian education nowadays is currently still not changed, even stuck. Even one of interviewees said that Indonesian education system is not support to the student interest. Also, the spirit of system itself is cultivating literary and critical skills, and not even regarding to their perspective. Most of them mention that international role is really useful in developing the system. By this week, by this way, it can be more. We can be more open-minded person. This can help us to understand more about what we need, what we concern, and what makes the Indonesian education system getting lag. In the session of interview, I also discussed to the interview about the effectiveness of government strategies in the developing education system. And from this, each interview has their own opinion. But the essential is quite the same. The point is government strategy is still not proper. I also have some perspective from exchange student here. She said that actually Indonesia really needs to do education diplomacy, like exchange, like I said before, it's like exchange or more in order to compare their system with another country. This can help some students reach their dream to study abroad and then increase their experiences also. Government have also, by this way, government can have a chance to negotiate with another country to open exchange program. However, I see that after they have already doing the exchange, they can clearly compare the education system around between two countries they can that they experienced before. So after that, we continue to the discussion of the findings. So basically, this research show that there are so many things to criticize and compare about Indonesian education system, especially when we see it with another country. Indonesia still has a lot of lack. This proved by interview results with exchange students, which already experienced the study system into the two countries. So the last one is about the conclusion of this research. Actually, I resume here the conclusion. The things that we can conclude here is the focus of education in Indonesia is less liberally and unstable. Also, I think it's kindly improper and not that well. It's really stuck. Government and all students should be making a movement together, and it should be provide a proper technology so it can help them to get information more easily. So that's all of my presentation. I'm sorry if there are a lot of mistakes in my presentation. Thank you for your attention, everyone. So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.